Welcome to Workshop Goals. I'm Brad, and today we're continuing our work. We're getting ready for a big event, and we need to put up some sheathing on the walls, which means we get to dip into some of the plywood finally. Also, we have a few other things with some exterior lighting, and I might do a little upgrade on the garage doors. We'll have to figure that out. Let's just jump right into it. So we have a wall that needs to be sheathed because this is going to be the backdrop for our Black Friday Live event. And this video will be coming out after Black Friday Live, which we have huge giveaways going on. So hopefully you've already won something. Maybe something you see here in the shop that we're talking about could be on its way to your house right now. I'm going to grab my straight edge and start measuring out these walls because in previous episodes we did take care of some of these, but we didn't do all of them. So I don't know how much of this is going to need to be adjusted. Probably a lot, but let's just dive in and find out. This is a 12-foot wall, so I'm gonna have 3 sheets of plywood on here, and I want them to be horizontal, and also they're gonna be lined up. They're not gonna be cross-hatched or whatever you call that. So what I wanna do is figure out where my breaks are gonna be, so I don't have a little mini piece down here at the end. Our 8-foot mark actually lands right in the center of this guy, which is actually very nice. So we could have one sheet that stops there. See where we end up over here. 8 feet. Yeah. So we're about a 1/2 inch off of layout here. So I'm gonna have to adjust things kind of left to right to make it work. All right, now the part I've been dreading, let's check for flatness. All right, so I'll start down here because I already messed with these. Oh. That is my alarm to check my 3D printer because we are 3D printing parts for the electrical. We're not too far off, but we're definitely off. All right, so I have these nice, huge barn lights that we're putting up on the exterior, and we need to have some special mounts because of the ribbing on the outside is so tight on the board and batten metal that most of the regular mounts won't work. So I've been trying to 3D print one, and well, you know, things like this are happening. So I put this on here and it just completely ripped off. What I've been trying to do is beef it up and figure out how thick I need to make it so that it will stay. And this is actually ASA, which is like ABS, which is a really strong plastic, except it is UV resistant because it's gonna be outside. I just got a new version out of the printer and we're gonna see how it works. And one of the reasons I'm printing these is because you can do really cool things like this. So the light is gonna land right in the middle of a rib. And so again, you know, you have to like cut into the rib, and I don't wanna do that. I just wanna have a small penetration with the wire coming out instead of like a big 4-inch box, and then it just comes really hard to seal things up. So I designed and printed this guy, which is kind of like a little half box, but let's put this in here. All right, so that's how it's gonna be attached. This is actually the bigger light. Let me grab the smaller one. All right, so here is the smaller light that we're gonna be using. The big one is like 22 inches. I think this one's maybe 16 inches or so. The whole idea is that the further away you get from your anchor point, it's called a moment arm. The closer you are, the easier it is to carry the load. The further you get out, the more leverage that this weight has, and thus it starts ripping stuff apart. So, all right, it's not ripping off. That is a great start, but let's see how much weight I can actually put on it before it does break. And there we go. So the walls are now strong enough. It's this connection between the sides and the bottom that is the problem. That's okay, because actually I have another one printing right now that I have really beefed that up, and I put a little chamfer in there, radius, to kind of help that out. So we're gonna keep beefing this thing up until we get it right. This is still a little bit too flimsy. All right, so what I'm actually gonna do, I think I'm gonna come from here and get my 8 foot that way. All right, there's my 8 foot. And if I add in 3/4, that puts me right there. Which I don't love being in between these two boards here. Oh, I see what happened. He screwed these together, or he nailed it and it didn't come flush, and so that's why these boards aren't tight together. part of the repair that we had, and it just did not turn out great. I'm gonna pop another screw in here just to hold it together. All right, I think we should be okay there. So wouldn't you know it, the repaired one is the one that's sticking out. This one's gonna have to get planed substantially. Let's start playing. So that's pretty darn good down here. All right, I think I've decided something that's going on here, and that is that basically the bottoms of these are kind of all jacked up. The front of this board is over the joist this way, so the back of that one is over here. But then if you scoot down to here, you get the exact opposite, where this guy is almost a solid 1/4 inch that way. And so as I'm trying to true these up and shim them out, it's not because of the boards are being bowed, it's because they're just not positioned right. So I'm gonna take the sledgehammer and just try to line up the bottom of each of these studs with the front of that plate and see if that'll make things a little bit easier. I gotta do the same thing at the top too, because some of them are pretty far out up there. I can already look up there and see it. All right, let's take a little bit off that one. I think that'll do it. Yeah, all right. Okay. Get this dust off the ground and get some sheets up. All right, this is actually very, very exciting because I've had this stack, actually 2 stacks of plywood in the shop. I don't even know how long, like feels like 7 years now. Probably more like 4 months. But I've had the strap on it the whole time to keep it from warping, and now we're gonna open it up. There we go. Wouldn't that be hilarious if I opened it up and it's not even what we ordered? I'd kind of be screwed at that point, but it should be 1/2 inch maple plywood. Or was it birch? I don't remember. Birch. 12 millimeter white birch, C2. All right, let's see what we've got. Oh, yes, that is what I'm talking about. Ooh, that looks like birch. It's got a little chatoyance in there. It's also got a bunch of humps in here. I wonder if this is the grade side or the other side. Oh yeah. Okay, so we got our patches over here. So the other side is our show side, which would mean that's our show side, which means that, did that get wet? Is that what that is? Or is that, yep, that definitely got wet. Son of a gun, I hope that's not too bad. Dadgum, this has got water. Oh man. This is the problem of unstacking lumber 4 months later. I'm gonna call them up and be like, you remember that lumber you gave me 4 months ago? It's jacked up. They're gonna be like, yeah, I bet it is. Okay, so I think I've had an epiphany just sitting here looking at this, because you guys know how I am. I like things the way I like things, and water stains is not how I like them. I think that is hideous. And because this is the actual most important part of the entire shop, because that's where we're gonna be filming, I want to dig through this stuff and find the best pieces. And with it being dark and us having horrible lighting, I don't think it's a good idea right now. It's getting dark out there. We started really late today because we were working with electricians for the first half of the day. So I think I'm going to punt this until tomorrow so that I can pick through here, because we have to have the best sheets here. That is going to be, like I said, that's going to be the show side where we're doing a bunch of filming. So I think we'll wait till we get some light, and we'll put some of this nasty stuff, you know, maybe back in the CNC room, back behind the equipment. I think that'll work. All right, back at it today. What I realized is that on that wall, it's mainly gonna be covered up with cabinets, at least at the bottom. So this kind of stuff would be perfect to have at the bottom to be covered up by cabinets. That being said, it does have some defects and stuff up here from the strap, at least this top one. So I'm not gonna use this top one. But for some of those other pieces, I think they might just work out. But I'm gonna move this on the side and we'll check them out. All right, so sheet 2. So we definitely have some water damage. I can feel it. It goes all the way up here. So the cabinets are gonna be 35 inches off the ground. So anything that's below 35 inches is gonna be covered up. But this one still has some nastiness. So I'm gonna pitch this one as well. We'll use some of these to cut off the sides. Let's see how many more we have to dig out to get good ones. Well, I think that one will be okay. Half inch is not too heavy, but still heavy enough. Oh geez, now it's on that side. Now we've got, oh my gosh. Now we got water damage all through here, actually up here. All right, this one might be okay. What a pain in the butt. All right, I'm just gonna have to dig through here until I find some good ones. Unfortunately, this is worse than I thought it was gonna be. All right, I think I have a beefier print now, so let's take this one off. And basically, I doubled the wall thickness on everything, so as thick as this is, this guy should be twice as thick. But I also just tried to beef it up as much as I possibly could. And I'm hoping this is gonna do the trick. It definitely feels a lot more sturdy. All right, let's see. I actually have 2 lights. So this one is actually the smaller of the 2 lights. The other one is even longer, which is even harder to hold up. So let's see what we've got here. All right. This guy's a little like kind of going back and forth because this doesn't have the solid base behind it. Once it's up there, it's going to. I really don't want to pull down on this. I mean, of course I could break it, I'm sure, if I put my weight on it, but I think that'll do. Absolutely. All right, now what I'm scared about is the next one, because the next one is much heavier. So this is just basically a pancake box, and this can lay right in there because at the peak, we actually don't have a rib to deal with, and that's what this guy's gonna do, but this thing is thick. I guess I could just use a normal pancake box if this one doesn't work. They just don't come in black. It's like all the silver ones and stuff, or they stick off a lot, and that's what we were trying to avoid. Oh, that feels sturdy. See this one, this guy, you can see how much bigger this is. I think this is a 22 incher and the last one was 16 or 17. Okay, here we go. Don't hear any cracking or creaking. It seems to be parallel, although this is sticking off a little. I mean, there's not much play. I'll tell you what, same thing. I think we solved it. I think these are gonna work great, or at least not immediately fall off. All right, we're gonna call that a win. All right, I finally found one that is passable. Still got water stains on it here, but we're gonna do what we're gonna do. All right, so I'm gonna be mounting these a 1/2 inch off the floor because I don't want if any water or liquid, whatever, all around the shop are gonna have the sheathing off of the floor. But if you recall, our floors are kind of like a wave pool, right? You can see it here. So I've got some 1/2 inch spacers, but I've got the laser level set up. You can see with this just sitting a 1/2 inch off the ground, the laser line hits it up here, and then by the time we're halfway, it's gone. And by the time we're down here, it's a 1/2 inch off. So there's a major drop. And so what I want to make sure I do is level the line up to the highest point. And then that way I can just shim up to it instead of like if you put it at the lowest point, then the next one comes in and you've got to scribe to it and all that silly jazz. All right, so that's 48 and 9/16. And just for reference, this is 49 and a half. Let's go all the way into this corner. we're back down to just under 49. So where is that point that it's the highest? Basically right in here, right where this is where my highest point is. So I'm just gonna pull up, what am I gonna do? Is that what I'm gonna do? I did not measure where that laser line is. That's just randomly where it is, and it actually happened to be almost perfect. So I'm gonna figure that out because I want that to be at a certain level, which might be this level. And then, yeah, I'm not sure what I'm doing here. But I need to make sure that my highest point is still under my boxes though, because I don't want to have to start cutting this first layer. That's probably the most important thing. Ooh, that's gonna be a problem. We measured all these boxes off the ground, not off of a line. So these are already gonna be like that. I don't know, let me figure this out. All right, and I figured out exactly what's going on. Our laser line is where we want it, 48.5 inches off the ground, which is a 1/2 inch spacer plus a full sheet of drywall. The problem is because we have a dip over here, you can see the bottom of this box. The bottom of this box should be 49.25 off of the bottom of the floor, which will give us a 3/4 inch space between the top and that. You can see here, that is barely a 1/4 inch. But then when we go all the way down here to the end, we do have that 3/4 inch right here. So we're gonna have to move these boxes because the boxes were measured off the floor, not off a level line. So lesson learned, when you're mounting electrical boxes along a wall, don't do it off the ground, do it off a laser line. That was our bad. That was our bad, so. All right, let's see where we landed. That does not make it want to move. All right, that went a little bit easier than I thought it would, so that's great. So now all I'm gonna do is pull up the plywood to be level with the top of this laser line here, and that should be good. And we'll be a little bit higher where the dip is. So we'll have a 1/2 inch gap at our highest point, and then our lowest point, it might go up to 1.25 inches. That's fine. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and lay out the screws. Now, of course, you guys know that I want the screws to be aligned exactly right. Amazingly enough, this wall is on layout, so I'm just gonna mark every 16 inches on the top, and then I can just connect the lines and basically have a spot to screw into while I'm going through. Oh, that's cute. This is 3/16 longer than 8 feet. This is not the time when you want extra. This is not the time when you want extra plywood, because then it screws up your layout. I guess I should check to see how wide this is actually too. And not that it matters, because we're gonna just rip down the last piece. Yep, 48 1/8. Hey man, we got extra plywood. All right, so now I got my top and bottom marked, and I'll just use the T-square and mark 12 inches. So I'm not gonna go crazy. I'm just gonna hit each stud and then just 2 nails or 2 screws in between. Maybe that is crazy, but that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna do extra on the edges. Typically you would have extra on your edges, but I think it'll be way more than enough. All right, I think we're ready to hang. All right, got my line right there. Came down just a touch. Come on. Ooh, there we go. First screw of the plywood walls. A little bit tricky to do this because of this hump in the ground. The spacer I'm using, it's kind of floating around on the tall part. It's a lot easier when you're using a bubble level. You know, you're like, hey, I'm within the bubble. Laser line makes everything look like it's further out than it is. It could go up just a hair. All right, right there, that's where I want it. Listen, this may seem ridiculous, and I should be able to eyeball 3/8, but not gonna do it, because on the next one, it might be jacked up, and then they might revoke my Perfectionist card if I do that. They might revoke my Perfectionist card. They might revoke my Perfectionist card. All right, just to put this to rest, I know I've been talking about it for a while, but I think this is the most visually obvious way to show it. This board is completely level, up and down, and side to side. It is level and square. And you can see down here, look at the gap down here at the base. Look at the gap we got there. And if you run down here, look at the gap we have here. So this is actually our highest spot for sure in the floor, and it's almost touching. Really probably would have put that higher if I had known it was gonna be up there. But we're 3/4 of an inch off over here. And then when you start looking at these studs, when I've told you guys that the studs kind of do all this number, you can see here, we've got a full inch at least here. And when you go all the way down to the bottom, you got maybe a 1/2 inch. That is just a great visual representation of what we're dealing with here. And if you can solve this when you're framing, it's a lot easier. Now, this is the important part, is marking the edges where your other ones meet up, because that's when it's really gonna show if you're fine. But the screws gonna be right there, so we could always adjust if we need to. Don't you dare. Hold, please. All right. Oh. You remember how we got that extra plywood? It sounds great, doesn't it? Until you've got an 8 foot and an 1/8 inch space and an 8 foot and 3/16 inch plywood. So now we get to rip off a 1/16 of an inch. Yeah. All right, I think this should do us. This has got to come way up though. Now, I'm not going to leave any space in between here. That may be a bad idea. Guess we'll find out, because I don't like the look of a gap. Battery's dead. All right, that's 2 courses. 1 course, two boards. So I decided I'm not gonna do around the door yet because I don't have the door in there. I don't know how wide it's gonna be, and so I don't know how that's gonna be. If I come up to here, then I could leave that over, and depending upon how we trim it, blah, blah, blah. I wanna wait till we put the door in to put up the sheathing there. So we're just gonna go straight up, and I just need to measure off on these boxes. And we'll see if it, we'll see if it works out. I got my shop notepad. We'll just make some measurements on here, and I'm gonna try to go a little oversized just so I don't have to recut it 17 times, but not too much oversized, because then you're just screwed. All right, so that's 32 5/8. My metric friends, I wish I was measuring in millimeters and centimeters right now. You think I like trying to figure out the friggin' 16th and converting to 4ths and 8ths? I don't like it, none of us like it. That's what we got, man. Can't go back now. I mean, I literally could just get a metric tape measure, but I'm not going to. I think you can get deported for that. All right, we're gonna trust these measurements. Trust but verify, right? We already verified, so we're just gonna trust now. I dipped into the giveaway stuff. This may already be coming to your house. Squares by Jessam. These things are freaking awesome. Very much like them because you can do cool things like this. Just like that. Now just jigsaw these bad boys out. All right, took a little practice cut because I thought that would happen. Jigsaw's cut on the upstroke, and that does a lot of blowout and tear out. And if I get too far on here, I mean, that's a full, I don't know, 3/8 of blowout, which I don't want because even though the wall plate's gonna cover a lot of it, it's not gonna cover all of it. I think what I'm gonna do is put some blue tape down just to keep it from tearing out too much. Because if you look down in there, that's a full 1/4 inch off that line, and it's gonna start getting, I think, out past what the wall plate will cover if I go right on the line. Is this overkill? Absolutely. Are you surprised that I'm doing it? No, you are not. Neither am I. Now I've got to lay the stupid things out again because I can't see the line that I just drew. You live and you learn. We'll put the tape down first next time. Yeah, I need more light. Yeah, the sun is going down. We got this one light over here. I can't see anything. That's what I'm talking about. All the light. See how we did. It's definitely still got some tear out, but not as bad as without the tape, that's for sure. All right, I've got this garage door and we've got 3 of them and they are brand new because we just had them installed. So they're actually pretty good. They're insulated and they are pretty tight. But there is one thing that when the wind blows, it kind of moves them a little bit. And we just installed these green hinges. We did a video on the main channel about these and these are actually pretty slick. And basically what they do is they help press the door up against the seal. So this is honestly kind of preventative maintenance. So I'm just gonna be taking off the hinges and putting them on and should go pretty quick. I say, oh, these are very fast to install, especially when you're not making a full video on them. So all I'm gonna do is take those out and put this hinge in. And this is pretty cool. I mean, I think it's cool to have, you know, upgrading things around your garage door, especially in your shop. You're trying to keep it nice and warm in there, and we're getting into winter. So anything you can do to your shop, if you've not done insulation yet, I would highly recommend to do that because it makes a huge difference in your shop. And this, it's not gonna make probably the biggest difference unless you have a really drafty door, and then actually it could. But these are really easy to install. You literally just take the bolts out and then put them back in. That's it. That's all it takes to install one. I've got 5 to go on here, and then I'm going to do each of the side doors. And I'm just going to rip through these because you've already seen them. If you want to see all the details about these, you can go check out the video on the main channel, and it'll tell you all the information about them. But it's a nice little upgrade, a little better than this little guy who's just kind of your basic hinge. All right, now we're going to see if this fits. I did a little adjustment up here on the joist just to kind of flatten those out, and I think we're good now. Oh gosh. And I don't like that at all. I think I should probably do that a different way. Yeah, why don't we do it like this? I think we're gonna have cameraman Adam come help me out because this is precarious and I'm gonna crush a finger doing this. Let's do this the smart way. All right, we need to come my way. How is that? Okay, I need to come to you about a 16th or so. Oh yeah, baby. Heck yeah. That fit like a glove. All right, that's looking good. All right, go. Reminds me of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Fell in the well, went cross-eyed, got kicked by a mule, and went back. That was out of square, it fell. It's either gonna be way worse out of square, or maybe now it's back in square. One more, I think we'll be ready for the live. All right, hold on. All right, I think that's good. That's our live wall. Put some fake plates on here and do some giveaways. Hopefully you want them. All right, fast forward, we had the Black Friday Live. It was so much fun. Thank you to everybody who joined us there. We had a blast. It was a really good time. We had a little thing set up here. Everything worked great, but what we need to do now is put in some more sheathing around the rest of the shop. We got a lot more to work on. We'll hit that all in the next episode. So until next time, get out there, set a goal, and get it done.